young players, they got all the moves, but the experienced players, they win you championship. Welcome back to Sri Lankan Cricket Podcast with Vida and Bora. We catch up and have a chat about cricket almost every week. If you are a new listener to our podcast, welcome to our podcast. And if you want to know a bit more about us, go all the way back and listen to our first episode. So Bora, lot happening in the last week. Ashes kicked off, 1-0 lead to Australia. And Sri Lanka are playing a World Cup qualifiers. They are going well. They won 3 in 3 at the moment. Yeah, and Sri Lanka A playing a series, and Sri Lankan first class cricket season has started in June, which is unheard of. There's a little bit of news about LPL as well. So, Bora, how have you been? Where should we start?
Yeah, being good with it. I think heat of the moment. Let's jump into the World Cup qualifiers, Sri Lanka on a high, and then we can venture out to the Ashes, which a lot of things to talk about, especially the style of play and decision making and Test cricket. I think that's the pinnacle of cricket, something to touch base. But Sri Lankans battling out there in the World Cup, so I think that's a good spot to start off, work through some of the results that has been and what to expect in the coming games as well.
Yeah, few surprises in the games that happened so far as well. Ireland, they are already out of the tournament. They lost 3 in 3. So basically, the top three in each group they will go through now, and Zimbabwe, Netherlands, West Indies, and Sri Lanka, Scotland, and Oman. So far, Sri Lanka has been pretty good with bat and ball. We talked about Dimuth's return, and he has grabbed his opportunity with both hands, and he's been unstoppable. He scored 100 yesterday. Yeah, so let's start with Dimuth. I mean, he's having a fantastic time.
Yeah, I think he's done well since he's come back into the setup. Hunger for runs, even getting 100, which is a good sight because I think it's taken him 40 games or 39 games to get up to 100. So as an opener, that's a bit of a telling stat. Ideally, you want to get that knocked off within your first 10, 15 games. Some of the better players tend to knock it off pretty early. So, but that's the modern day game of being an opener where you got to grab that chance. But his second coming, he's done that. If you
Second,
number down the others.
third, Bora. I think it's his third,
Yeah, sorry, I've
maybe
lost count.
fourth.
But I guess, yeah, for him, he's done it well, as well as for the rest of the Sri Lankan boys, winning dominantly. That's a good sign, especially coming into this stage of the qualifiers. You want to be winning like this to show that, look, we should be a team that should be playing, not in this setup, should be within the big boys playing you automatic into the World Cup. You don't want to be scrambling wins in these stages where it doesn't argue well. Then that becomes a lot of questions being asked on, okay, what's the team combination? Where are things going wrong? If you're winning, by tight margins, we are winning with comfortably dominating wins, whilst playing some of our not our first choice players there as well. So if you take Dushmantha Chamera, he is not playing yet. So without him, we know the fast bowlers were a bit unstable, or we weren't sure who's playing. So and then Lahiru Kumara, he's coming, grab that chance. Vanidu Hasaranga has gotten back into the getting wickets, which is important, and getting them in bulk. Like, he's a star performer, so him getting 5 first is almost equivalent of him getting maybe a 3 for or a 2 for against some of the higher rank nations when you play games. So getting the 5ers are good results. That means he's more threatening. This standard of cricket struggle to face players of that quality, and you need to come out. You don't want Wanidu coming up with a 1 for or bowling much for nothing. This is the result we want to see. So pretty impressed, but more to go. We've got the second stage coming up as well. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I think we'll go well against Scotland tomorrow as well, and Because the good thing is, whoever is going with us, we are carrying those points. So the point you talk about Vanidu Bora, have you noticed anything different in his bowling? I think he's flighting the ball a bit more. Have you noticed anything
Yeah,
different?
yeah. I think you can flight the ball a bit more with this standard of cricket. That's being
Hmm.
honest with you. The
Yeah.
margin of error is slightly higher than playing top nations where they generally got set plans. I think you can almost buy yourself wickets against these teams, which
Yeah.
he's doing and coming off with it. Um, a lot of the wickets are misreading the googly, where a lot of the you know set batters or high play batters of set teams tend to pick up
Yeah.
well. So you notice when like those are some of the highlights where now he's picking up a five. It's almost like if you give him a sniff at the tail, he'll go through it because they won't pick him much.
Yeah.
And he's had the luxury in this matches so far where the quicks have managed to break it open at
Mhm.
the top, and then he goes through. So, but having said that, the boys are gonna come across tougher teams to face. So when we are going into the
Mm.
qualifiers, I think West Indies are struggling to make it, which is going to be it's sad for cricket. I think West Indies, like Sri Lanka, are an entertaining team in World Cups, so you almost want them, but they're feeling the pinch of it. They lost to Zimbabwe and making their qualifiers a bit of a struggle now. But then Sri Lanka will come up against the likes of Zimbabwe, guys from the other stage as well, again in the next round.
Yeah, it's you mentioned the next stage. I mean, these qualifiers, it's good to see the results, but let's face it, it's going to be really tough playing against better oppositions in India.
Yeah,
So this team composition, you think are we going to keep this combination, or what I'm going to get to is, do we need another batsman in the middle with a bit more experience? When we had a chat about Angelo in the last episode, there was few tweets, questioning our reasoning behind picking Angie in the team. My thinking is, in a World Cup, especially in India, we need experience. So it's good to see SriLanka getting runs in the middle, but Angelo, I think we'll have to take him to India. Yeah, experience matters. Dimuth, yes, Dimuth gets runs on top of the order, which is a good thing. But what we lack is that finisher who can, bat with the tail and win the game, hit a couple of sixes in the end when we are batting first, like finish off. Because let's face it, Dasun is not scoring runs, but he's managing his role as a captain really well.
yeah,
So we are not gonna change captains going into the World Cup, right? So we need backup. I think
yeah.
that player is Angelo. I'm not saying we should drop Asalanka from the team. We might have to send him up the order to number 4 and maybe drop Angelo to number 5. I don't know. It's something. It's a tough call, but
A good one. It's a good conversation to have because with your batsman, Asalanka and Dimuth have to play. There are left-hand options. There's no, we cannot not play them. You need to have a good balance in the top order. So with two left-hand batters and the right-handers, that's all right. If you can make it three left-hand batters, even better. But with our given mix, we don't have that resource. Um, Someone who comes into a equation, then okay, who is your left-hand batter out of this group would be Kusal Janit and Bhanuka Rajapaksa, and both of them, I think, if you give the current set of teams, they'll probably won't make into this mix.
yeah,
The guy who's grabbed his opportunity like Dimuth is Sadira.
yep,
He's found it difficult. I was a big fan that he should be in the mix right throughout, but
yeah,
for some reason he would find himself out of the team than in the team. So But coming back, he's managed to grab it, and the way he's batting through the middle helps guys like Dimut to bat through at a click as well. Um, because it's a left hand, right hand, and teams like this tend to struggle with the movements of the field, set in proper. I feel they struggle with the demands of the game, and the guys have been capitalizing it. So a fresh breath is Sadira. That means Angie is coming into the mix, becomes a bit more of a it's a good headache to have. Then when you look at it, who do you leave out if you want Angelo in the mix? Who are the two guys you kind of have to work around with? That would be one would be Dasun, one would be Dhananjay De Silva. So um, if you ask me, do you want to take Angelo to the World Cup as the backup batsman? I definitely want him there, because then he becomes like a second option for the guys to work around with. Um, that's the way I see it. Because if you look for experience by now, like Kusal Mendes has played 100 games. That's a fair amount of experience as well. Then you have Dhananjay De Silva, Timuts, fairly mature in his game.
Even though he has only played 40 matches within like 12 years because
Yeah,
he was in and
you
out of
think
the
he is more, you'll bank on him as a more of a mature batter, uh, and then who can hold his own. I think it all comes back to where we're still uncertain around Kusal Mendes taking on that seniorship. So imagine Angelo Matthews at this time, point of his career, of where Kusal Mendes was 100 games in. You'd bank, Angelo was a match winner banking on games through batting through that middle. That's how he made a name for himself. This is where you'd want to see Kusal Mendes, turn that notch up and be there. You still, like even this tournament, you see 3 games already got one, is one famous duck in the mix of it. So you always have that number coming around. So, which is unfortunate. It seems to be he's picking numbers. He's picking the ducks pretty high. So it's bound to show up. If it hasn't all done so yet. So at number 3, that's a very critical position. You need a steady head, not a guy with a record of the record he has at the moment. Ideally, or you want him opening the bat because he's got a pretty good record opening, and Kusal Mendes has that quality. So uh, we are having these discussions now because even these qualifiers, it's a long road. It's almost like the 99 World Cup where you had your group 1 games, then you go into your super sixes or super eights at that, whatever they called it at that time, and then eventually coming on top getting into qualifiers. So lots of matches to be played. Does that mean we need a larger squad? Because already Dushmantha is injured. He might play a part in the second part of the series.
Yeah. Good thing we have Dilshan Madhushankar as backup.
Yeah. Now I was gonna add, the only thing I'm not sure around is with World Cup qualifiers, once you name a 15, does one player have to go out like Dushmantha needs to be um, judged not fit and doesn't take part in the tournament for Dilshan Madhushankar to come in? I think that's they're probably banking on a last minute one. They can't add a member just into the squad.
About Angelo, do you remember 2007 World Cup? Mawan Atapattu was in the squad, even though Full opened the batting. So having someone like Angelo, even with the squad, is not a bad thing.
It's good. Yeah.
So, it's a long tournament, and he has done well in India, bro. And just done in India, has played IPL there, and given that he's fit, I think they should pick him. Don't have to play him 11, but it's a good backup option to have. And Dushmantha's injury is a worry. I'm sure they're just trying to keep him fit.
Yeah.
They don't want to risk him not being fit for the World Cup. I mean, Kane Williamson, I don't think he's struggling to be fit for the World Cup as well. I think with his knee injury, so it's because we need fully fit Dushmanta if we are to progress to the semifinals. One other thing, like it's something I came across in a book. Young players, they got all the moves, but the experienced players, they win you championships. So you got to have a balance. Tough calls, but yeah, we will keep an eye on that.
Yeah, for the moment, it's good cricket to watch. The guys are dominating. You want to see that cricket, good confidence for the boys. And with that momentum, even then when you come across tight games, it tends to go in your favor because you have that confidence. You won the last few games, you won, you almost push the positive outcome. Rather than if you've been losing few games and you get close, you're almost like, oh, this is also going to be another poor result, and you kind of fall short. So it's momentum through games like this. There are in Zimbabwe, the games, credit to the, I don't know whether it's a setup of the teams or the wickets. There's some high scoring games happening. Some pretty good scores up there.
Zimbabwe got 400 against USA today.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
In that group, they're pushing net run rates as well.
Yeah.
To get ahead of it. So.
Yeah. Winning big is good, but we know this is not the real thing, Bara. So
Yeah.
don't want to get carried away. Remember when we went to the World Cup in Australia when they came here, we came off a Asia Cup win, thinking that we are on top of the world, and we soon found out we are not. And these wins, they're good, but it's not the real thing.
No, not really. But they've all got ODI status. So if you play in and you got a good opportunity to improve on your personal stats, these are the tournaments to cash in because like Wanidu SriLanka, 3-5 first. Push in the case. Dimut got his first 100. Like you got to push those numbers aside. Get wins. So when it's tough, you almost it helps you, knowing that you have some confidence of performing. Boys are doing well for the moment, which is a good sign.
That's it. Keep going. Keep going. Shall we move on to Ashes, Bora?
Yeah, Ashes, where do I start? At least Australia on top.
Yeah.
Getting a win. Baseball, as much as we like, there's a lot of topics around it. I was gonna start with the topic with do England need to play baseball to beat Australia in England? That's a big question that's happened. That's, I think, is being discussed, or people going through now because basketball first opportunity of basketball against Australia, pretty much. That's the whole was the whole motive behind, if you wind back to Rob Key revamping Test cricket for the English camp to whatnot, what did they have to achieve? It was the Ashes. So now, first hurdle, they've fallen short on the first hurdle. How they pick themselves up and come back into, getting a win. Because if you lose two back to back, the wheels are going to fall a bit.
Yeah. But with this group they have, I think they can't back away from that plan because they had a lot of success playing this way. I think they'll have to do the same. They might have to call this, one off. They made some bad calls. If that has come off and if England won that game, we wouldn't be even talking about this thing. We'd be calling, oh, what a brave move to declare with 20 minutes to go. We're on the first day. But
Test crickets are tough. Test cricket's played over 5 days, and then you got to make decisions that are going to be in your favor come the fifth day. Not you. I don't know. Very rare you find you can push the game in your in your way. And I think England were pushing it. They were making some risky moves, which Australia took control of it. They went ahead, and when England were making risky moves, they put in, built up a bit of pressure, kept on in control, going in. But then but still you go back into that last hour or so, they still had to score 50 odd runs, 2 wickets in hand, take out baseball or whatever. They'll back themselves to win in a situation like that. That's because
Yeah.
that's a defendable score against,
Mm.
Lyon and Hazelwood to follow. So credit to the way Australia went, but that risky moves England were playing always gave opportunity for Australia to keep getting inside, getting close to it,
Mm.
and so the fifth day they managed to get on top. Whereas the older England, they normally they play cricket for the 5 days, so they'll bat the first 2 days. If they're in a situation like this,
Mm.
I reckon they would have gone 450 to 500 runs,
Yeah.
declare, and then again, if opportunity, they would have bat again as well to grind out a really big score and then bowl. That's the old England that
Mm.
would have done well in a situation like this. And I think that's why the question was being asked, do you guys need to declare you're dominated? Why
Yeah.
don't you bat more? Let the pitch deteriorate. So,
Mm.
um, what do
It
you
might
reckon?
be-
Jimmy Anderson was a bit upset about the wickets. He's already made a comment. So, you
Yeah.
reckon there's more life in the wickets?
Well, they're playing at Lords, and Australia has a very good record at all Lords. So they will have to play him. They might thinking of bringing Mark Wood as well, Bora,
Yeah.
with pace. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they gonna go with. And Australia might change their team as well. I see a lot of positive things about bringing Mitchell Stark into the team. And Manas's form is, they talk about that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, but they're not gonna keep him out of the team. They're not gonna unsettle that batting order. The
Uh,
bowlers might, there might be one change in that Aussie team, but England will have to make a couple of changes, I think. Yeah, Lord stats are it's very interesting because I don't know, for some reason every visiting team tend to do well at Lords. So it'll be a
yeah.
tough ask for England because they are already 1-0 down.
Yeah. A bit tough. Like momentum wise, Australia's got it well. I mean, the whole focus is on England, and Australia are pretty happy to ride under this limelight and
Mm.
then get ahead with the wins because they're not being questioned as much. If you take even the team combinations, you're right, it'll be one change, maybe Stark coming in for Boland,
Yeah,
which is not a bad thing. They'll rotate the quicks around. Lion's gonna play throughout this series.
yeah,
Um, and then with England, they've got to decide whether they play Ollie Robinson after all the
yeah,
um, drama that has been going on in this test match. If you drop him, that's the Australian media, everyone's waiting to pounce on him. How do you manage that? They're thinking of bringing in a spinner because Moeen Ali's got
yeah.
a old finger injury when it happens when you don't bowl
They bought
longer
him the
spell.
leg spinner, Ahmed,
Rehan,
Rehan
but
Ahmed. Yeah,
again, that's good excitement for him. It's a good spot to be at that age. And England generally do toss leg spinners pretty early into
yeah,
it. They've had a lot of rich history of having a lot of leg spinners, right arm leggies,
yeah.
trying to be the next Shane Warne, getting thrown in. Uh,
They, they throw them in and you don't see them again.
they get
The
and they get
goal.
thrown out pretty quickly as well. Um, so that's this is another leg spinner. I was surprised they didn't go into they didn't go make the call to Adil Rashid and bank him in, but they've
Mm.
gone with a young leg spinner now. Um, and how England go about playing it, it's end of the day, it's test cricket. They need to be winning because if you don't win, doesn't matter how much the glamour is, you don't nothing goes your way because if you take out baseball, if you take pre-baseball era, what did England bank on? Joe Root to score runs.
Yeah.
come baseball era, Joe Root's still the guy scoring the bulk of the runs and controlling things. I know he's a,
Just having
he's
fun.
he's having fun. He's batting, but then like who else is gonna make runs around him is the question. Doesn't matter how they get it. So they've almost said go out, bat as much as you, however you want. We'll give you the freedom. You still got to score runs. End of the day. So and you got to find a method to get that runs.
Mm.
I think KP or there was an interview where David Warner had mentioned they're just throwing away their wickets. So if you look from outside, it's that you score entertain in 30, 40 and you get out when that's not ideal. A lot of questions with that, like even for England, Johnny Bairstow, a lot of mistakes behind the stumps.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
uh,
Left Ben Fox out.
yeah, one of the
Mm.
best keepers going around. So um
That's
it's
what I
exciting.
said.
I can't wait for Wednesday to come around because even the commentary panel's it's a strong commentary panel. That's pretty, you learn a lot.
No, that's the best. Shame we can't watch the whole game because you got to get up and
Yeah,
go to work next day.
yeah,
But at least you catch one session, then
yeah, correct.
catch up with you catch up next
Highlights.
day. Yeah, with the highlights. Yeah, we got LPL on the sheet here, but I don't think we have time to talk about LPL. But let's talk about LPL next in the next episode. Quickly,
Yeah.
about Sri Lanka
Talking
domestic
about
season. They're playing in June, and most of the senior cricketers are in England playing minor county cricket. So I don't know how the standards are going to be in this 3-day, 4-day tournament in Sri Lanka.
yeah, not sure. Sri Lanka has become a country that's playing cricket throughout the year. Um, it's going to affect few of the guys who are going to England. If it doesn't affect them this year, it's going to affect them next year because you have to be playing certain amount of first
Five
class
games.
games to qualify. So that's not ideal. We'll try to catch up about this topic on the next episode.
Next,
There's a few instances where in Australia as well, the visas for professional players are tightening up with the moves if they're moving from overseas. With I wanted to touch base on the LPL. There's a ownership change with the Candy team. There's
yeah,
a bit of a uh, I don't know by next time how which other owner will change, but
yeah,
something for us. That's just a quick snips. But domestic cricket's happening.
Hmm.
Um, few familiar faces playing there. I've been watching a few of the scores.
yeah, yeah.
Dilron's done well. He scored 8,000 first class
Yes,
runs and
800
800
wickets.
wickets. That's that's massive achievement, and it's good that they are still participating in first class cricket. It's for youngsters around them to learn. Then Upul Taranga's playing for NCC.
Tiri got 100, I saw.
Tirimana's back in
Hmm.
first class cricket, got 100. Good way to start, push the case if he's pushing for a test selection.
Hmm.
So guys like that coming back adds value into the game. I know there are players missing, but guys like this are needed.
No, no, we'll talk about all those in the next episode. So thank you so much for listening to us. Please send in your questions or your comments through our socials. There's some exciting news coming your way, so keep your eyes on our social media as well. So yeah, thank you for listening. We'll catch up with you next time.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.